Good afternoon, Craig.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Just peachy.
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 That's
We're
awesome.
gonna go with peachy today since we're not taking official notes yet.
I'm usually doing just ducky.
Ducky. All right, we'll go with ducky then. All right. How are we doing on head count today?
So far, we have yourself, Mr. Weddleton, and we have Mr. Constant on as well, although I'm not certain whether or not he is acting as a member today or Ms. Zolotel will be in as well.
Okay. I guess we'll give Ms. Zolotel another minute or so.
I now see Mr. Schutte as well.
All right.
Present. I'll just act up until no one wants to hear from me.
Perfect.
Thank you, Chris.
Oh, wait, that's right now.
Just kidding.
Chris, we're always happy to hear from you.
My favorite neighbor, Jim. I haven't seen you or heard from you in a long time.
You need to drop by. We've been sitting out on the front deck having the fire going on the last couple of evenings. It's been so nice. Come on by.
So pretty.
All right. Well, Craig, my iPhone and my computer both say 1:30, so I'm going to decide that that's official enough for me.
All right, sir. You do have a quorum, so.
All right, we have a quorum, so we'll go ahead and gavel in. Call this meeting of the AMATS Policy Committee to order. It's October 22nd, 2020 at 1:30 p.m. Go ahead and do a quick roll call. Ms. Zolotel?
Here.
Oh, hello, Ms. Zolotel. Good to hear your voice. Mr. Weddleton?
Here.
Okay, and Mr. Schutte is here, I believe.
Here.
Ms. Heil?
She is just dialing in right now. Let me invite her in.
We're going to go ahead and count her as in.
She is here.
And we also have, I guess, a guest appearance by Mr. Constance. I don't know who's subbing for who here.
Yeah, I'm not subbing her in. I'm just here to pay attention.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll figure you're the adult supervision in the room this time. Then we'll go with that. Okay, Craig, will you go ahead and do the public involvement announcement, please?
You bet. All AMATS committee meetings are open to the public, and the public will be provided an opportunity to comment at each meeting. We have a business item. We'll have presentation by staff or a consultant, and after that, the committee will be invited to have a discussion on it. After that, we will invite the public to comment.
Okay, thank you, Craig. So do we have an approval of the agenda?
Move to approve. This is Cindy Heil.
Schutte, second.
Mr. Schutte, second. All right. Thank you, folks. Do we have any changes to the agenda? Okay. Are there any objections to adopting the agenda? Okay, hearing none, the agenda is approved. Okay, so we have no meeting minutes to approve, so we can move immediately into the action items, starting with agenda item 5A, the AMATS Unified Plan Working Program 2021 budget. Craig, why don't you go ahead and give us a spiel on that?
I will do that. So as you remember, we have a work program that is a 2-year work program, but we get our allocation for our budget annually. And that basically relates to the fact that we have to wait until Congress decides what the our obligation authority will be. And it, could be anywhere from 80, it's currently at 87%, but it could be more. So they decide exactly how much out of what they said they were going to give us, they're going to give us. Long story short, these are the planning activities for the AMATS staff for 2021. And the AMATS staff included the 4 senior planners, myself, an allocation for our accounting help, some work by by Michelle McNulty, our planning director, for the stuff that she does for us, work by the data techs up in the traffic department when they do the hose counts for us that we use to feed the model, and it also includes a portion of that goes to Central Region DOT for the work that Mr. Starzek does. Again, the work program has been adopted, but this is the budget for next year. And so this is our breakdown. It was I think a small increase. So we're taking that into account. You should have the spreadsheet has been shown, or it has been posted for a while, so that is available for you. The TAC heard this 2 weeks ago and recommended no changes for your adoption.
Okay, thank you, Craig. Are there any questions or comments from the committee at this point for item 5A?
This is Shooty. May I ask a question?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Christopher.
Thank you. For staff, for Craig, just because I'm unfamiliar with it and I think my understanding is incorrect, can you describe what the TransCAD function or program does? Is that the software that Transit uses?
No, that's the transportation model that AMATS uses to, as one of the tools that we look at to decide what kind of transportation projects that we'll need in the future for us.
Right.
So yeah, that's ours.
Got it. Thank you. I just needed that clarification.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Chris. Are there any other questions or comments from the committee on this issue?
Weddleton.
Yes, John, go ahead.
So, talking about that model, Craig, is that the model that is used for testing the various scenarios for the MTP?
That's the one.
Okay, so we were told it's very expensive to run a model or run a scenario through that model. I mean, so is that, how often do you use it, or is that true?
That's my understanding. I know that we have, so the money that's in the UPWP, the Unified Planning Work Program, which is what's before you today, the money that's in there is a combination of the one senior planner, John Cecil, who takes care of that for us. It also includes a small modeling support contract with RSG, who is the one who built that model. I don't know exactly how much an individual model run costs if we have someone else do it, but the cost that we're looking at in here is some of John's time to work with the model and a small contract. I think it's $20,000 for RSG for stuff that is too technical for us to figure out and we need some assistance with. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it's helpful. Mr. Chair, can I follow up a little bit?
Sure, go ahead, John.
So when is that model used?
So right now, when it is used is when we do an MTP. It used to be used a lot more because no one else in town had the model, but now most of the consultants such as Dow and HDR and Kinney Engineering, etc., probably R&M have their own version of the model. But we don't have to use it as much just because we don't have to do as much modeling as we used to, because we're not in a non-conformity area for the different air quality issues. We used to have to run a model run every single time we had a tip amendment or an administrative modification. We don't have to do that anymore.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
To the same degree, that is.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the committee on this issue? Okay, hearing none, we're going to go over to the public comments. Are there any comments from the public? Please remember you have 3 minutes to speak. And Aaron, I'm going to assume you're still doing a 30-second clock on this, or?
Yes, that's correct. Teams Live is going right now, and it still needs to catch up to the point we're at right now. So about 30 seconds delay should get us there from when you stop speaking.
Okay, I will stop speaking. 30 seconds.
Okay, about 30 seconds have passed and it appears there are no comments on agenda item 5A. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, so what is the will of the committee regarding 5A?
Move to approve.
So that was, Meg,
Judy,
was that you?
second.
Yes, that was Meg.
All right, Meg, thank you. So moved by Ms. Zalatil and seconded by Mr. Schutte. Are there any objections to approving the motion? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Okay, moving on to item 5B, the 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan Update Resolution. Craig, will you please give us the info on this?
I will start, and with Aaron's help, we will help you out on answering your questions, hopefully. So this is kind of what we try to do before we start any update to our Metropolitan Transportation Plan, the 20-year plan, kind of lay the ground rules out there to make sure that we're all on the same page going forward. So this is the resolution. It's also, it should be posted there. So this is the resolution that we have that did go through the TAC, and they had some minor changes. Can you go to the resolution, Aaron, itself? Here we go. So the minor changes that we had related to some clarifications that our DEC rep on the TAC had, just related to air quality modeling, etc. Do you have any blanks that you want to fill in, Aaron, on what shared there?
No, just so you know, just so the committee members know, this resolution is kind of the minimum that we need to get done. So it will not include every possible thing that we're going to do for the MTP. That's in the RFP scope of work. So if you see something missing here, it's more than likely covered under the RFP.
Okay, Craig, is that it, or Aaron?
That is about it as far as I know.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments from the committee on the 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan Update Resolution?
Yes, please.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Meg.
Thanks. So just the sequencing of events here. So if this passes as is, will that be what drives the creation of the RFP? And then the RFP will not or will be back in front of this committee?
So the RFP has already been created and is at purchasing right now, I believe. So it will not be coming before this committee. So this is kind of something we use to supplement the RFP to make sure that we've captured kind of the will of the policy committee on what they want to make sure is included in the update. So for example, you'll see under here where it says the goals and objectives were adopted and will be looked at again. They'll be reviewed and confirmed as still relevant and consistent with adopted land use plans and will be changed as appropriate with input from comments received and carried forward from the 2040 MTP public review draft. We heard from the policy committee as part of the 2040 MTP that they want any comments carried over to be kind of the starting basis for updating the 2050 MTP. So I wanted to capture that as part of this resolution to make sure we are, showing we're listening to what the policy committee wants us to do.
Thanks.
All right, thank you, Meg. Are there any other questions on this issue from the committee?
Waddleton.
Yes, John, go ahead.
Craig, Michelle McNulty had an amendment to this at the TAC. Are we seeing the amended version?
I believe that's the language there that Aaron is highlighting right now related to the district or functional plans.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, thank you, John. Are there any other comments from the committee on this issue? Or questions?
I'll make a comment. Just
Yes,
This is Cindy Heil. This is a reminder that we've been doing this now for several MTPs. It's very helpful in setting kind of the boundaries and the expectations moving forward. So in 4 years, when we get ready to approve the 2050 MTP, there could be new people that have just been put on the board, on the committee, and they'll be going, why did you do this? And we pointed back, just like we did this last time. So we pointed back to the original resolution that started the whole thing, that gave the boundaries, that gave the expectations, that this is how it starts. This is a long process. And so it's important to have, and it's invaluable over the course of the time to be able to, for staff and to show the public that, you know, there was some thought put into the starting point, especially for this particular plan, that are starting with the 2040 comments and end thing, and using that as the springboard for this new plan. So this is important, and it's glad that it's happening so fast.
Yes, thank you, Cindy. That's absolutely true. We get new people that rotate in and off these boards from time to time. Everybody brings their own lens and things with them, and the better we can clarify and codify why we made the decisions at this point, the more transparent they'll be, and the more likely they'll be able to go through the whole process. So I appreciate that comment, Cindy. All right, any other questions or comments from the committee on the 2050 MTP update resolution? Okay. Hearing none.
Actually,
Oh, go ahead, John.
Now that Ms. Heil has told me how important this is, and it seems important, but you know, looking at page 2, line 39, whereas the MTP update will include a review of project scoring criteria and be updated as appropriate. Does the process guarantee that the public will be part of that review of the project scoring criteria?
Yes, we will make sure that the public is involved in some way, shape, or form with a review of the project scoring criteria. Generally what happens is we update it and then we put it out for the public to provide comments on. So for the 2040 MTP, we had an entire memo that was developed for the criteria specifically that was used and put out, and we got comments on it. We also received comments at the very end of the plan on the project scoring criteria that we're going to be looking at as kind of the starting point for updating these MTP criteria, as well as the work that AMATS staff has been doing on the TIP criteria, so we can make sure that we have some consistency between the two criteria.
Okay, so does the RFP specify the information that's in this document, including that?
No, because I wanted to make sure that that was something that the policy committee gave approval on. So once that's approved, this resolution will be given to the consultants as part of the scope of work and the contract agreement. It says here are the additional things that you need to make sure you account for. In the RFP, we do talk about that additional direction will be given from the policy committee and that they need to account for that additional direction. And that's what this resolution is, a kind of additional direction / more specific things put in there.
So I'd like to propose an amendment just for my own comfort, I suppose. So that first line on page 2 would read, whereas the MTP update will include a public review of project scoring criteria.
Salatel second.
John, is that in our public involvement process requirements?
Or is that a question to me?
Yes. Or
I'm
to Craig Line.
PPP for a while, and it sounds like Aaron is stating that it probably is, but this would just make it more clear to any consultant and for posterity.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question or
Yeah,
make a comment?
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Thank you. This is Chris Schutte, by the way. I don't have a strong feeling about tinkering with the language like John proposes. I do want to see if he would consider amending his motion to also capture the typo on line 43 carried forward form should be from.
43. Where is the well recognized completion?
Yeah, I see it.
Page 2,
40.
John, line 43. Yep, right there, Aaron.
Are you, maybe I'm looking at the one that's posted online. Here, okay, with a slightly different page numbers. So my amendment would be on line 42, and yeah, let's amend it and say we'll fix that typo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So John, for the record, do you want to restate the amendment as formulated now?
Right.
Sorry to interject. You can't do amendments yet because we have to open it up to the public and then come back.
Oh,
and
yeah.
have a make motion. So we're not at the point of doing amendments yet.
No, thank you, Aaron. Okay. So Aaron's right. So why don't, John, unless anybody has any more comments, does anybody have any from the committee have any more comments and questions on the action item as shown? Okay. So we're going to go to any comments from the public. Again, reminding the public they'll have 3 minutes to speak on any action item, and I'm going to go ahead and set my timer, Aaron, for 30 seconds, starting now. Okay, so that's the theme from the Angry Birds, and we've had their 30 seconds. So, okay, so hearing no questions from the public, Aaron, did you see any questions?
No comments have come in on Teams Live. Thank you.
Okay, so regarding the motion that is in front of us, what is the will of the committee?
I guess we need to move to approve the document. So I so moved.
Okay, so
Second,
moved by
Judy.
second
And then
by
I-
Mr.
I'd like to offer an amendment, move an amendment to on line 42, add the word public before the word review. And line 43, change the word form to the word from.
Salatel second.
Okay. So the motion as amended is to add the word public in front of review and change the word form to from. We have so Mr. Whittleton, that's your motion, and Ms. Salatel, you seconded it, the motion, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. So Aaron, correct me if I'm off my Robert's Rules of Order here. Now we move. Are there any objections to approving the motion as amended? Is that correct, Aaron?
You approve the amendment and then you go back to the main motion as amended.
Gotcha. So are there any objections to approving the amendment as stated? Okay, hearing none. Are there any objections to approving the motion as amended? All right, none. The motion is approved. I think I got that right, Aaron?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Indeed.
Okay, I'm going to get this Robert's Rules of Order stuff down. Yeah. Okay, we're moving on to item 5C, the AMATS 2021 Safety Targets Memo. Craig, will you please present?
Yes. So we are required to set performance measures for a number of things. We've set all the ones we've been required to do. The safety measures are ones that we're required to revisit every year. Just as a reminder, we have a choice of either setting our own or adopting the ones that the state has set. And the AMATS has gone the route of adopting the ones the state has set, and basically because they've been setting them and we've been involved in the process of setting them, and they have all the data that they collect and we don't have any of that data. So it just makes sense that we continue to support there. So that's what we're doing again this year. Our suggestion, staff suggestion, was to adopt the states, and the TAC agreed, and that is what is before you today. That's about it.
All right, thank you, Craig. Are there any questions from the committee on this issue? Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Schutte.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to put myself off mute and I was already off. I apologize. I believe this might be a question for you or for Jim. And Jim, you know, I ask this every year when we do this memo. The 2020 targets are going up. Why?
Mr. Emerson?
Sorry, I had to grab my microphone. I had it over the back of my head. The targets have been adjusted to reflect a slight bump in what we've been seeing in the last couple of years in terms of fatalities across the AMATS area.
Let me ask, Mr. Chairman, if I may, let me clarify my question. I didn't ask it very well.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so the 20, I'm sorry, I said 2020, but really I meant the 2021 target. You refer to the 18, 19, and 20 targets right below it for reference there.
Yep.
At 2020, which is, I think, still going on for some reason.
Yep.
We don't know what the final numbers are in each of those categories, I would assume, but the target that we set in 2019 was 80 fatalities and 400 serious injuries. Are you saying that based on our underperformance on these targets in 2020, you proposed lower targets in 21? In other words, are we going in the better direction?
We're going in the better direction. 2020 bumped up to reflect in 2018, 2019, the actual numbers were creeping up. So, but yes, in 2020, and it certainly didn't hurt us any with COVID cutting down on the traffic volume significantly, the numbers have dropped in at least
so
appear on track.
A little bit of a lag between actuals and the targets. Okay, got it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Schutte. Any other questions from the committee on this issue?
Yes, please. Zalatal?
Yes, Ms. Zalatal, go ahead.
Thank you. To what extent are the projects that are authorized or have been under construction and completed play into the new target? Because I know a lot of justification for several projects are to increase safety. So to what extent is that factored in, or is it simply just moving forward based on, excuse me, previous data, and then I don't know, is there any factor, I guess, accounted for in bringing on new or completed projects?
Mr. Amundson, do you want to try to answer that question?
Through the chair, the selection of new projects going forward takes into account the fluctuations in the movements of increased or decreased numbers of fatalities and injuries, but we don't start adjusting the targets based on projects that we're just now starting, because in most cases, the projects that we're just now getting ready to start are still anywhere from 3 to 5 years until we actually deliver it and it starts having an effect on the numbers of accidents, injuries, etc. So there's a lag time between when we start the projects and actually see the projects delivered. But some of the more recent projects that have been completed are part of what gets taken into account as the targets start getting adjusted back, going lower again, is because we have been doing HSIP projects in the bowl consistently, and that's why the numbers are going the right direction again.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Are there any other questions from the committee on this issue? Okay. Hearing none, I'm going to move over to the comments from the public as well, and I will go ahead and start my infamous timer at this time. 30 seconds. Okay, I have 30 seconds. Aaron, any comments?
Yes, there was one question. It was asking, when is AMATS going to do a safety plan? It's been mentioned in previous meetings before.
Okay, Craig or Aaron, do you have an answer for that?
Well, we are looking at the possibility of, we have an amendment coming up and looking at the possibility of adding that in as part of the amendment to add some money in there, possibly in 21, but probably in 22 for a safety plan. We have to make sure we have enough staff to manage those things. So we're looking at it right now. Should have an answer for you within a week.
All right, thank you, Craig. Aaron, were there any questions or comments from the public?
There were no other questions or comments. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So for item 5C, what is the will of the committee?
Shooty, move to approve.
Weddleton, second.
Mr. Shooty moved and Mr. Whittleton seconded. Any objections to approving the motion? Hearing none, the motion is approved. All right, moving on to item 5D, the Spenard Corridor Plan Public Review Draft. Craig, will you please give us the information?
I will turn it over to the dynamic duo of Joni Wilm with AMATS and Theed Tobish with long range planning to tell us how that went and present.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here today. Theed, you're on too, right? I see you.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. We are going to give a short presentation on the Spenard Corridor Plan. Let me pull that up right now and share my screen. No, share my screen. Oh, sorry. Having a. Okay, wait 1 second. Uh-oh. Oh. For some reason, it was letting me share my screen earlier, and now it is not. 1 second, my apologies. Let me turn my, okay, no, that
Joni,
is,
try again. I just unshared the screen I was using, so see if that works.
see if that works. Okay, so I think it's opening up something else I didn't want to open up, but that's not the one. Sorry, let me close this. Oh no, panic. Okay, wait a minute.
At least we can see your screen.
What's that?
At least we can see your screen now. So as soon as you get the one up there, it'll be
My
good.
screen is just the wrong presentation. So stop presenting. Here we go. Okay. Try to open up my share tray again. For some reason, it is not bringing up my things that I have open here. Okay, hold on. Go to security and privacy settings. Screen recording to give permission to start sharing. Okay, screen recording. 1 second. Maybe someone could, okay, screen recording. Privacy. This is Microsoft Teams. Does anyone, Aaron, do you know, do I need to select a special?
You shouldn't know, but you're on a Mac, aren't you? So it'll be a little different. Do you want to send me the presentation and I can share it for you? Or
Yeah, let me send it to you right now. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Sorry about this, everybody. I have shared my screen several times now from my Mac, so I don't know what's going on, but. Okay, I am. I'm going to send it to you now. Yeah, just taking a minute to load. It's 28 megabytes, so give it 1 sec. That's super weird.
I don't think you'll be able to send it if it's 28 megs. You have to do 15 or less.
Oh, okay. Feed, do you have it on your computer?
No, I don't. Sorry.
Oh, no. Well, this is, oh, wait, never mind. Now it's, wait. It is, there's something weird happening with,
Do you have it on the AMATS drive somewhere? Because I can just pull it up real quick there.
it's I can load it onto the, well, I have to put on my other computer, but I can load it onto the G drive. But that's going to take a minute. Are we the last item?
No, we have one more, but Mr. Constant's back in the chat.
Oh, okay, because I was going to say I could do it while he's, wait, let me send this to you. It says
It's fine now, though.
it says I can send this to you. I'm trying to email this to you, Aaron. I think I just sent it to you. Did you get it? I'm going to try one thing. I'm going to hang up and sort of log back on and see if that fixes the problem. See if I can share. I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, I am back on. Aaron, you didn't happen to get it, did you?
No, it looks like it's still updating my inbox. Generally, anything over 15 to 20 megabytes won't send through the Muni system.
Okay, I am trying to find it on my desktop here. It just is always, this is so typical. Okay, desktop. Okay, here. Well, shoot. I'm not sure how we're going to do this. Do you have a Google Drive, Aaron?
Yeah, you'll have to send it to the AMATS specific one.
AMATS has a Google Drive.
Hey, Joni, in the interest of time, do you want us just to move on to the next item and come back to you?
I would love that. It sounds like you may need Christopher Constant in the room, but I would love it. That would help me out.
Okay, so unless there's an objection from the policy committee, we're going to go ahead and just pause on item 5D right now. And we're going to go on and move to item 5E, and we'll come back to item 5D afterwards. So is there any objection to that? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move to item 5D. This is the Seward Highway to Glen Highway Connection PEL resolution. So, Craig, before you go off and present on this, and I want to just bring up a point of order, and please don't misinterpret this as DOT not wanting to do projects or anything like that, but it looks like what we've done is we've introduced a resolution for the policy committee consideration that has not been vetted through the technical advisory committee. So if you look back at the intergovernmental operating agreement signed between DOT and the municipality of Anchorage, the role of the technical advisory committee is to review all AMATS related transportation plans and programs and make recommendations to the policy committee regarding those transportation plans, programs, or funding requirements. The reason this is an important aspect of how our AMATS is structured is that there are technical details that will become problematic in executing this resolution as scripted. So I'm more than willing to talk about the details about and try to educate people about why the resolution as is scripted would be problematic to execute. But just as a point of order, and again, introducing this resolution without having it gone through the technical advisory committee that would have been able to identify the technical disconnects in this resolution, and we could have fixed it at the technical advisory committee. It now lands in the policy committee's lap, and it's still not where it can be executed. So do we have any discussion on the point of order that I've raised with regard to the operating agreement and the introduction of this resolution? Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
Sorry, I'm not sure if you're following hands raised or not. I've got my hand up on this.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chris. Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate the point of order. I just have some clarifying questions. So if this resolution was not run through TAC or drafted by TAC, what's the origin of this? Where did this come from then if it didn't go through the normal process?
Okay, so Craig, maybe you can elucidate the origins of this particular recommendation.
I believe we received this from Mr. Weddleton last week sometime. Let me find it here. My inbox here.
No, that's fine, Mr. Chairman. That's enough of a general direction. So as a follow-up question, I guess, given the role that the policy committee plays, is there anything in the operating agreement that bars a policy committee member from bringing a resolution like this without it being vetted?
Craig, do you want to speak to the details that would?
Well, I guess my answer would be is that I don't see anything in the operating agreement that bars a policy committee member from bringing something to the policy committee without it first going through the TAC. There's there's language in the operating agreement that says the TAC serves as, the kind of that's where stuff is supposed to funnel through, give policy direction to the TAC from the policy committee, etc. But I don't see anything that bars a policy committee member from bringing something straight through or straight up. That's
Mr. Chair as well.
Go ahead, Mr. Whittle.
Yeah, I am not opposed to this going to the TAC. So if that would be the motion, move this item to the technical advisory committee and then back to us, that would be a motion I'd make.
Okay. Well, I would second that motion if I could, only because, again, there's some real, it's just procedural issues contained in the resolution that even if the policy committee adopted and approved this today, the resolution as scripted is really not, we would not be able to execute the resolution, just pure and simple.
I put in something forward that would work. That's fine with me.
Yeah, and we'd be more than happy, Mr. Welton, to sit down with you offline and talk about where those disconnects are and maybe how we could script it so it would work, if you wanted to have that discussion. But anyway, so am I correct in saying you've made a motion to delay voting on this resolution and move it back to the technical advisory committee for follow-up recommendations?
Yes, and I don't think that precludes you and I getting together and then maybe, I don't know, in the assembly we do an S version that would go to the TAC. But that way we get it on their schedule and we'd have this thing moving.
No, absolutely. So,
Mr.
okay.
Chair.
Yes, Mr. Schutte.
Yeah, just to follow on that point, I mean, Mr. Weddleton proposed it. You say it's got problems. I understand that. Is there a way that the rest of the policy committee can be part of that discussion? Because there are parts of this that I think I don't fully understand. And rather than just seeing something that comes out of a TAC without having any sort of education about it. I would like to learn about it as well. So is there, I don't know, what do we do? Schedule some kind of work session, or how would we sit down with you and figure out what's being proposed and what that means for DOT?
Sure. Well, maybe Mr. Van Hope, are you on the line?
I am.
So is there a possibility that you could maybe come up with a short white paper to be distributed to the policy committee that identifies the procedural issues with this particular resolution, so that we can have that all have that information available to us, and that would allow the proponent for the resolution to maybe reconfigure it in a way that might work?
Absolutely, and I have a very brief one that I prepared to discuss today, but I can add to it and distribute it.
Okay, Mr. Studi, do you think that would work, just to get a common white paper from our statewide program development folks about what the issues are concerning this resolution?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I always find emails from Mr. Van Hope to be very informative, so I would appreciate it. However, I do think that there's an element of dialogue involved in this, and so I still would like to maybe establish a time for us to discuss it, especially if the information provided by DOT results in changes to Mr. Weddleton's amendment. It'd be good to understand what that negotiation involved and why certain things are changed, et cetera. I mean, I'm coming at this from a fairly uninformed perspective, as per usual, so I'm looking to learn as much as possible, and I think the dialogue would be even more educational than simply the white paper, though I am looking forward to seeing that.
Okay, no, that's great. So Mr. Van Hope, if you would go ahead and prepare that white paper, if you would send that to Craig Lyons, and Craig, if you would try to coordinate a working session with the policy committee and the TAC, where we could sit down and have a dialogue over this particular issue in the resolution and we're talking about.
I will do that. I will notice also that Ms. Zolotel has her hand raised. I don't know if she has something she wanted to add before we move off this.
Okay, sounds good. Ms. Zolotel, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to be clear on the timing of this. As I understand, this deals with something that's current and active, and is asking to possibly take a different trajectory than the item is currently on. So what are we looking at in terms of timing? Can this be back before the policy committee as early as next month, or is it going to be further out than that?
No, I think it sounds like Mr. Van Hope already has the 90% solution on a white paper for us. We could easily get this meeting scheduled before the next TAC and policy committee in November. Right now, the status of the contract for the Pell that sources the planning environmental linkage for the sewer to Glen connection, they're still in the end of negotiations for that. The components in that statement of services still include environmental services. That task will not go away as a result of the conclusions of the negotiations. So I would not say that we're going to miss any major milestones if we don't make any decisions today or tomorrow, but that we would have plenty of time to get that information out, have a meeting before next month, and action that forward into the next month's AMATS forums.
Okay, thank you. I'm comfortable with next month.
Okay. So Mr. Van Hope, if you would wrap up that white paper and get it to Mr. Lyons. Mr. Lyons, if you would take that, push it out to the AMATS folks and schedule a meeting before the next November's meetings, that would be great.
We'll do that.
Will do.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. So with that, is there, again, we have a motion to postpone a decision on item 5E. It's been seconded. Is there any objections to delaying item 5E until we can have further dialogue and discussions regarding this issue?
Mr. Chair, who seconded the motion to delay it, just for the record?
I believe Ms. Zolotel seconded it.
No, that's not correct. I believe that was Mr. Weddleton and yourself, Mr. Chair, who did the motion to delay and refer to the TAC.
Oh, okay.
I don't think second motions, do they?
Yes, you need a second to delay this motion, to delay this item. You need a primary and then a second for it. And then the
Shooty,
chair.
second.
Mr. Shooty
Thank you.
seconded? Okay. Okay. All right, so that motion is approved. So we're going to go back to the Spenard Corridor Plan, item 5D. I'm seeing it on the screen. So Joni, I assume you've been successful. So Craig, I will go ahead and let you and your staff kick it off again.
All right, Joni, here we go.
All right. Second try. Hopefully this will be better. My apologies. I have no idea what happened there, but technology, you know. Okay, well, so thank you again for being here to let us present to you on the Spenard Corridor Plan. We have been taking this plan through a lot of committees lately, and you are the final committee. We are hoping, well, you are the final committee, so it's been over a 4-year process. We are just going to give you another overview. It's a pretty brief overview of the plan, just to refresh your memory. And hopefully, and you should have a table of comment response table also with the memo in your packet. So if you have any questions about that, we're here to answer as well. So anyhow, so Spenard Corridor Plan. There we go. Okay, whoops. So, okay, so we are going to just give you a brief refresher of the committee reviews that we have seen. Can everyone hear me okay, first of all?
Yep.
Okay, great. So this plan has been through a lot, but for AMATS specifically, we have gone to the Technical Advisory Committee numerous times. We've seen them 7 times. In addition to that, we had 3 additional work sessions to work through internal agency comment and review. The policy committee has seen this plan a few times now as informational items. So there has been a substantial review. I will just go through the chapters. We're going to go through the chapters. There are 7 chapters, and we're just hitting some highlights from each chapter. Chapter 1 is an introduction. Again, this is going to be Anchorage's first transit-oriented development plan, and it's a joint effort between AMATS, transportation planning, and long-range planning. And we'll get into TOD planning in a little bit here, but basically, myself from AMATS and Theed Tobish from long-range planning managed this plan. Our lead consultant is Winter Company. They are leading experts in urban design, transit-oriented development, and historic preservation. They're from Boulder. We also tried really hard to hire a lot of sub-consultants that are local and from Anchorage. So we had local architects, transportation planners and engineers, local marketing firm, and local public involvement firms, all from the Spenard area, which we're pretty proud of. Chapter 1 also goes over the purpose of the plan. We knew going into this that there were several previous planning efforts that had taken place, so it was a good candidate for a comprehensive plan like this. We also knew going in that there are a lot of underutilized lots and reinvestment potential in the Spenard area. The recent Spenard Road improvements that were completed last summer from Hillcrest to 30th are great, and they're getting a lot of positive feedback from the community. And then also Federal Highway Administration is encouraging us as an MPO to fund and do transit-oriented development planning. And so this is our first kick at that cat, so to speak. And so we are doing that, hoping it becomes a good example of how to do that here in Anchorage. So again, just to highlight, this is the planning area in the orange. The boundaries, we have Hillcrest Drive to the north, International Airport Road to the south, Arctic and Wisconsin are east and west boundaries. The planning boundary is sort of built on this idea of walkability, to and from transit areas, which they're estimating is about a half mile to a quarter mile. So we tried to include areas that were approximately that distance from the Spenard Road corridor. Chapter 1 also talks about the public involvement that we did. Again, as I mentioned, this was quite an extensive process. We're over 4 years of public involvement on this plan. We kicked off by forming a Spenard Advisory Committee. We had several community workshops. We were at several of the Spenard Community Council meetings all throughout the planning process over the last 4 years. Theed and I went to the farmers market and the food truck festival and presented maps and had maps for people to draw on and took comments and presented drafts and things like that. When the public review draft came out, we did have an open house at the Church of Love that was well attended. And then we started going through our technical committee review. As you saw earlier, we've been through the TAC, we've been to see the policy committee. You guys, we most recently in the last 4 or 5 months have been to see the Planning and Zoning Commission, and then the Anchorage Assembly last month, I think, or maybe it was the month before, shoot. Can't remember now, it's all blended together, but approved the plan unanimously for adoption. And then we didn't have this on there, I forgot to add this to this slide, but most recently 2 weeks ago, the Technical Advisory Committee approved the plan draft with the comment response table that you have included, which includes all of the comments we got for the public involvement process, including Planning and Zoning Commission and the Assembly comments in the comment response table. So they approved all that to forward on to you for final approval. Getting into chapter 2 is the vision and goals for the plan. The vision and goals for Spenard were mostly derived from, or were essentially all derived from the community input we received at the beginning of the plan through our first public workshop. We did a community survey. We got over 500 responders, and we had a lot of input from our advisory group meetings and our stakeholder focus groups that we held. Essentially, the vision can be summed up in the diagram on the right, which is made up of seven sort of elements. Beginning on the top, again, as I mentioned, we wanted Spenard to be a model for the region. The community also wanted that as well. They wanted Spenard to be a place to experiment, especially with sort of creative development ideas. They wanted it to be a lifestyle destination, a place to call home for the many residents who already live there and future residents. They'd like it to be a thriving business destination, an alternative to going to downtown. And then finally, a branded district that could be stand out in Anchorage as its own standalone community. Chapter 2 also goes over plan goals. These goals, I'm going to read through them. There are 15. They are important because they are threaded throughout the entire document. They also guide the document. And then finally, they are accompanied by action items and policies in the implementation chapter, which is chapter 7. So this first goal was a big kind of overarching goal for the whole plan, but support transit, increase ridership. Secondly, recognize Spenard as a destination, celebrate the culture of Spenard and Anchorage, enhance and protect neighborhoods surrounding Spenard. Number 5, create great public spaces. Number 6, pursue development of activity nodes, connect Spenard to the greater Anchorage area, create a safe pedestrian and bicycle network, integrate Fish Creek as a centerpiece of Spenard. This was really important to the community. Accommodate safe and balanced roadway access, accommodate and manage parking, design for Anchorage and its winter climate, prioritize sustainability and resilience, create a climate for investment, and then finally focus on strategic economic efforts. Chapter 3 gets into the plan framework. So the first public workshop, after the first public workshop and community events, the consultants went back and divided the area into 3 distinct districts, a north, central, and south district. So the vision for each district is just a little bit different. The North District is seen more as the heart of Spenard. It's a destination for shopping and entertainment activities. It's pretty urban in nature, but there are a lot of pedestrian connections and bicycle connections that are integral to that area. The Central district vision is more neighborhood scale in general. It's also this spot for a major transit hub, which we'll show you later in a concept diagram. The South District vision is a little bit unique because it's more tourist oriented with its proximity to the airport. There are a lot of hotels. There's also a lot of people who live in that area already, and it's an established neighborhood. So we really wanted development there to promote both of those activities. So, for example, creating more open space and retail and improving the connections all throughout that area. The framework map is also part of this chapter. This is kind of a unique map. This map ties together design elements and transportation elements in a way that we really haven't done before. Again, it's got the 3 districts highlighted, north, central, and south. It shows primary and secondary networks. It also shows enhanced street crossings, potential places for shared parking locations. It shows our 2 Festival Street potential locations. It shows all the gateways, those little sort of purple dashed circles. There's it shows where transit hubs could go, and then potential intersection changes in that area. The circulation and connectivity from this chapter 3 is just a more dialed down version of those connections. Basically, it's showing the primary and secondary networks. The main difference between the primary and secondary networks is that the primary networks connect Spenard into the greater Anchorage area, so downtown and the surrounding neighborhoods. The secondary networks connect the residents to those primary networks. They also connect residents and visitors to key destinations or locations in Spenard. And then this chapter also looks at MTP investment in areas when we were going through all of our public involvement, interagency review. This was one map that DOT asked for, and we thought it was a great idea to show where we could potentially invest our MTP dollars into the area. So those are some good changes we implemented into the plan with their expertise. And then Thee's going to talk to you a little about land use.
Before we get to see,
oh yes,
Shruti has a question.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't sure if you were entertaining questions during presentation
Oh.
or after, but I have one specific to a slide that I think is 3 back.
Okay.
Showed the nodes. That's this one. So just a interpretive question, and I didn't think to ask this over the past couple of years when we looked at this map. The horizontal lined areas that identify potential intersection changes. Why are they drawn as like clouds?
I think, well, because we, well, they're just supposed to simulate a general area. They're not specific enough to dial down. So I think that was the idea behind trying to represent more as conceptual, like it's this general area where we would need to look for potential intersection changes. So
okay, so it's just it just sort of says that there's potentially an intersection change or changes, I'm sorry, in these areas, not just at the, say, the major intersections that it's showing, but also in other areas that are inside that cloud shape.
Right. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
The area of potential impact. Yes.
Potential impact. Even better. Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. So, and Feed is going to give you some information on the land use elements.
Yes. So the concept chapter here uses this land use map, which shows the land use designations from the 2040 land use plan as the foundation for a lot of the concepts in this chapter. And this map evolves the previous land use map from the West Anchorage District Plan. And it is the foundation for the Chapter 4 land uses. It's showing the land use designations and the supporting policies. So next. So this map is part of the framework. It's a new feature we've found in a land use plan. It's called placemaking opportunities. And it basically shows concentration points or strategic locations in the district where there's visual and physical access, strategic visual and physical access points. So that's where you see the red circles on the gateway areas into the corridor from the outside the district. It's showing the major intersections, major focus centers of intersections in the district in the pink circles, and then the 3 transit hubs conceptually located in each of the 3 districts, 1 in each district, showing the railroad for reference. Okay. So again, this is a unique map for a land use plan. It's focusing where the district has future concentration points of access, both pedestrian access and multimodal access through the district. It's showing potential redevelopment areas where we're going to be focusing new commercial uses, and it also is focusing walkability to the transit hubs in reference to those concentration points. So these are areas where we would focus on public parking policies, probably have future structured or surface parking, as well as parking pools and special agreements with private-public partnerships to enhance parking, which will support and sustain the local commercial development as well as the transit use. Okay. So chapter 4 is the land use chapter. Its main focus is showing the district-specific concepts. Each of the 3 sub-areas of the district will have a land use map based on the 2040 land use designations. And it will show where this plan recommends land use designation deviations from the 2040 plan. And the land use map will also have all these placemaking features shown, as well as integrating the streetscape character. So it's a unique land use map in that it combines the design elements, the transportation elements with the land use. In addition, each of the 3 districts has this concept development map, which is basically a visualization or an illustration of future concepts of development that the plan is recommending based around the transportation features. And it shows them in context of existing conditions. So all the gray buildings you see highlighted are the existing buildings, and all the colored structures outlines are future redevelopment sites based on the plan. So they're mixed-use buildings, 2- and 3-story mixed-use buildings, higher density residential structures in yellow, for instance. It also shows them in context with the future parking areas in dark charcoal gray, I guess that is, for this special parking district. And you can sort of see an outline of the possibilities there on the left with the model buildings shown in yellowish colors. Okay.
And I was just going to add real quick, so, and one of the main reasons we did this district-specific concepts chapter is we really wanted people and the public to be able to visualize what was possible, and that's another reason why using the local architects from Spenard area to help us create that vision was so important. And I think the people really responded to, being able to visualize what was possible in their neighborhood. This particular one shows a festival street, what that could potentially look like, and the other ones are pretty cool too. But.
Yeah, I should also add that the Chapter 4 district-specific concepts also includes a case review, essentially, or a pro forma modeling for a couple of these buildings in each of the 3 districts to show that they can actually, that they're feasible based on existing conditions and future policies. Can you go back one, Joni? So the case review of the model, pro forma model that they did for the North District is the north area of this map with the orange. There's 3 structures in orange with actually it's a parking structure. And the model shows that's feasible to be done based on existing zoning, existing conditions, and the future policies from this plan. Okay. So this is the Central District concept plan Again, showing the new buildings, the redevelopment sites in color, and the existing buildings in gray. And key for this central district are what are those teal colored buildings along Spenard Road, which would be 2- and 3-story mixed use buildings, possibly with residential over a commercial structure, commercial use. And the main thing here is the transit hub shown in the middle left, with the big blue building and the red outbuilding and the plaza area surrounding it at the corner of the intersection of McRae and Spenard Road. That's where the future transit hub for the central district is envisioned over the next 30 years. Next. And then for the South District, not as much to be done for the South Districts in the next 30 years, but again, there's mixed use buildings envisioned along Spenard Road, more commercial uses possibly, and then a public plaza type concentration point for the public access at the Lake Spenard waterfront just north of the hotel district there. And then secondly, a redevelopment area is envisioned in the southeast corner with the yellowish colored buildings, where there's currently some commercial and light industrial uses. That we envision this to be changed over time to a mixed use residential district with a community garden and access to the rest of the community. Okay, next.
Okay, thanks, Steve. I'm going to move on here with a little circulation policies for Chapter 5. It's all about transportation around the corridor. Essentially, there are 6 policies that we included in this chapter. Again, these are integrated throughout the document. They are also accompanied by action items in the implementation table and matrix that you'll see later on. So policies, number 1, create a balanced street network. Number 2, create a street typologies plan. Number 3, design the roadway as a connected grid. Number 4, manage access and mitigate modal conflicts. Number 5, enhance the bicycle network. And finally, prioritize pedestrian travel throughout the corridor. We also had in this section, again, in the hopes of making this plan very user-friendly and easy to read by members of the public, we wanted to create some diagrams that show what was possible on some of the streets. And I'm sure, as you all know, Spenard has a lot of streets that have small right-of-ways or limited right-of-ways. So the 4 diagrams in the middle show what's possible if you're trying to kind of improve pedestrian and bicycle amenities on a limited 30-foot right-of-way, to just give folks some ideas of how that could be arranged. We also have a more complete streets approach type model of what could happen on Fireweed on the lower left. This is a 4 to 3 lane conversion, very similar to what happened on Spenard. But the only different, or one of the major differences here, is that this diagram shows the bicycle lane and pedestrians being separated by that generous landscape buffer. But very similar to what they did on Spenard on the north section. And then the diagram on the right shows a number of things. It shows some potential new bike facilities along the corridor, some mid-block crossing areas where there could be major and minor crossings at signals. One of the other really handy things it does is it could be used for a design tool later to help some designers figure out where to put certain things. In particular, if you look at those little dashed black lines, those are the existing driveways. And so anytime you have anytime you have a driveway and you've got pedestrians and bicyclists going along the corridor, you're going to have a point of potential conflict. So if you can see where the driveways are and maybe figure out how to consolidate those, you can minimize your conflict points and make the corridor safer for pedestrians and cyclists. Chapter 5 also has a bunch of stuff, but bicycle amenities are key, figuring out areas where we could have increased bicycle parking and bicycle parking ideas, creating bike share, areas for bike storage and lockers and ideas for that, and then of course creating more on-site bicycle connections. And then finally, Chapter 5 also addresses parking. We look at flexible parking requirements, compact parking design, promoting shared parking, and then promoting efficient management of parking. And Thee's going to talk to you a little bit about the utility infrastructure.
Yeah, Chapter 6 gives nod to the utilities. There's 3 maps in the chapter, basically, one each for the existing sewer, water, and storm drain systems. And for these sewer and water maps, we show identified future improvements in the utilities plans, as well as areas where there's currently insufficient coverage for either sewer or water, based on future higher density development than what's there presently. So those are areas where upgrades will need to be improved. I think that was it.
Excellent. And so our final chapter here, we are almost done. Our final chapter is implementation. And as planners, we know that, you can work on a plan and make it as good as you can, but if it's hard to implement or not implementable, it's really not going to do a whole lot of good. It's just going to sit on a shelf. So we really didn't want that for this plan. We worked extra hard to have the consultants put together a really clear step-by-step implementation table and matrix that you'll see in a sec. But we basically have 9 strategies that we laid out for implementation. Number 1, preparing for a 30-year build out, recognizing that things take time and that we don't want to limit ourselves. So let's prepare to make this last. Reducing key development barriers that exist in the corridor, targeting feasible development as the market matures, building Spenard's market incrementally, targeting a walkable land use mix, targeting properties that are ripe for redevelopment. As I mentioned before, we knew this going in, that there are a lot of properties in Spenard that are ripe for redevelopment. Incentivizing development, encouraging tax increment financing, and then finally exploring special assessment districts. And then Thee's going to talk to you about the action plan and implementation matrix.
Yeah, so Chapter 7 provides considerable detail about marketability and development challenges in Spenard and generally for transit-oriented development. And it includes a section of reviewing economic challenges, the implementation strategies that Joni mentioned, this action plan, and then an implementation plan for each chapter. So the action plan includes key actions to implement the plan over the next 30 years. And these actions are listed by time frame, so immediate, near, midterm, and long term. And they're categorized by administrative policies, which would be organizational initiatives or outreach marketing, additional planning, studies, that nature. Regulatory actions, which would be policies and procedures, changes to Title 21, things of that nature. Their financial actions, which would be specific initiatives for future funding, incentivizing development, things of that nature. And then finally, capital improvement actions, which would be actual build outs. Okay. So finally, the plan wraps up with this extensive implementation action by chapter. So each of the chapters in the plan has policies associated with it included in the chapter. So every policy in the plan is now assigned at least 1 and sometimes 2 to 3 action items in the second column there. So the third column shows the planning partners, responsible entities for those actions. They're shown by time frame, and they're also shown if funding is required for each action. That was it.
And that's all we've got. I do have one little diagram that I wanted to show the committee. Was just some kind of last minute revisions we got from DOT. Nothing major, just some clarifying revisions. And I'll pull that up now. but let me just do that real quick. Okay, let me share. Stop sharing my screen real quick. Okay. See if I can pull this up. Now it's doing that thing again where it's not letting me see what this is so weird. I don't know what's going on. Huh. Well, let me close this. Close that out. Can you see? Can
Yes.
you can see it?
Yes.
Oh, great.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, that is awesome. Okay, here we go. So this is just a table. It's actually the table from page 8. The main reason we put this table into the plan originally was we just wanted to be very clear to the public what was involved when you propose a major or a significant change to an arterial or a major collector. So I don't know if you probably don't have your table in front of you right now, but your plan, but we just made some minor revisions. I'll just point them out. We just specified arterial and major collector here. I think before we just had said arterials and collectors by major. So we also just made a couple little minor word changes. The main thing we did was add these yes and no arrows here. So the point being, if something's not a major change, then people would know that if no, it's not making these major changes, then it can go straight through to final design and construction. If it does require a major change, nor this, then yes, it goes down to here. If it's no at this point, it goes back to the main funnel and goes right down to design and construction. So it was just a few little things like that. But so we just wanted to present that to you. It's just a technical amendment included in our presentation today. So, but does anyone have any questions for us?
Thank you, Joni. Any questions from the committee on this presentation?
Weddleton?
Oh, go ahead, John. Sorry.
Mr. Weddleton, go ahead.
Thanks. So, I was looking, so the amendments from the assembly were not shown in this document that's posted now, but they're in the response to comments document. So I think would the motion be then to accept this study with the accepted comments in the comment response summary?
Yeah, so the comments, all of the comments that we received throughout all the public process, including Planning and Zoning Commission and the Assembly, are included in this table. So I don't know who has this table up. It could be Aaron.
I do, Joni, yeah.
Oh, perfect. So if you scroll to the end of it, you can see that at the end of it are all of those Assembly comments that we collected through our review with that committee. And whoops.
So those are all the assembly amendments.
Yes, and so if you scroll, so there's the amendment. If you scroll to the right, you'll see that staff agrees, and what we've said there is the change will be implemented into the final plan draft. And then when we went through the technical advisory committee 2 weeks ago, you can see that the technical advisory committee recommended approval of those comments as well. So, but they're all included in this table that you have in your packet.
Well, but not every comment you received was accepted for the, right?
Which ones are you referring to, John?
Thinking broadly, and we have this in front of us, and I believe the intent is for us to kind of adopt this document in some form, and I want to make sure we don't just adopt the document, but also refer to the amendments that are listed in this comment response summary.
Yes, no, yes, that is part of the memo of the proposal of what we're asking from you is to adopt not only the document, but all of the comments that come with this comment response summary that are approved by, yeah. Or
Okay,
you get the final approval, but you see what the technical advisory committee approved.
Mr.
All right,
Chair.
Mr. Welch, any other comments?
Yeah, I'd like to ask a couple questions that sort of build off of where Assemblymember Wilson was going. So, Joni and Pete or somebody, you know, this is called the public review draft. However, I guess I'm not understanding the outcome of today, given that the plan has been adopted by the Assembly and already incorporated into the municipal land use plans. Are we doing an acceptance of the Spenard Corridor Plan as a transportation element? I'm a little bit confused on the order of things.
Good question. Good question. This is the first time we have done a combined effort plan with land use planning and transportation. So in your land use plan, your final stop is the Assembly. However, this plan is funded by AMATS, so we have to follow our federal process, and our final stop is the policy committee, so you. So yes, the Assembly adopted it. Yes, it will be incorporated, but the final say of the final document is in the policy's hands. So that's why it comes to you right now. If you approve it,
As a follow-up, Joni, is it possible then that, I mean, this almost feels like the MTP versus the LRTP discussion. Is it possible that we could, at policy committee, adopt a transportation plan that has parts in it that are not in the accepted land use plan? Let me rephrase that a different way. Sometimes there have been discrepancies between the MTP as adopted by the policy committee and the long range transportation plan as approved by the Assembly, which the LRTP is sort of the local transportation plan that's designed to mirror sort of the broader MTP. So is this a similar dual track process? And if it is, it seems like there could be two different documents out there if, and I'm not saying we should do this, but if, for example, Mr. Weddleton wanted to amend something in the Spenard Corridor Plan now as part of the policy committee, it could be something that's different or not in the one that's adopted by the municipality.
I think in this case, and maybe Aaron or Craig can jump in if I'm wrong, but well, first off, we really hope that there's one plan only. We have gone through so much internal agency review, and we've really tried hard to work with all of our partners so that everyone is happy with the final product. But since I think the Federal Highway Administration only states kind of that dual process for the MTP, this is not the MTP, so this is just one of our considered, I think, one of our just general plans. So I don't think it's beholden to that type of process. So I think we should hopefully just end up with one document. But Aaron and Craig, how does that, I mean, this is the first time we've done it, so.
This is Craig. I guess I'm confident that you folks will choose to adopt the same one. It is not, as Joni pointed out, it is not on the level of the MTP versus an LRTP. I know that the changes or the differences in previous MTPs versus LRTPs were extremely minor, and it might have been around the 2005 timeframe. So since then, they've been the same document through and through for the MTP/LRTP. In this case, our thinking is how we're gonna utilize the Spenard corridor plan is when we look at the next tip and the next MTP, we go to all of our plans that we have, the non-motorized plan, the Spenard corridor plan, the Eagle River CBD study, et cetera. And we look at any projects that might be mentioned in there as potential improvements, and then we use them to feed our MTP in the tip. We rank and score projects based on what we pull out of there. So that's how we generally use those. They're overarching guiding documents, of course, and that sort of thing, but it's more of an issue if the MTP is different than the LRTP.
So this is Aaron. I do just want to point out that Mr. Schuette's kind of on the same correct vein, because if you look at it, the Assembly has already adopted the Spenard Corridor Plan, and today Joni has brought forward a change to the plan on the floor with that diagram. So technically speaking, yes, you will have two separate documents if you approve that diagram change. Now, is it a significant change? No. But if other changes are made by the policy committee that are more significant, you could have two very different documents.
Yeah, and I guess my answer to that is it would be very easy for the Assembly to come back if they so desired and make a minor, in this case, a very minor technical edit to the Assembly adopted plan to keep them the same, because it is just that. It's a very minor technical edit. Maybe different, but it's pretty minor.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, just as I guess to close this out, two things. One, I definitely want to make sure the record reflects that Aaron said I'm mostly in the right on this question, which is rare.
Yeah.
Secondly, I'm not concerned about the specific change that Ms. Wellens proposing. To me, I remember the lengthy discussions at the Assembly many years ago over adopting an MTP that had component parts of it that significant numbers of the population in Anchorage did not support, so it ended up with an LRTP that was different, and that's, maybe that's fine, and there's no reason to bring them into alliance. If one body says oranges are better and the other body says apples are better, so be it. I wanted to understand the process, since this is the first time we've done it this way. This is new to me, and I'm just wrapping my head around sort of the nuts and bolts of how we get to where we are. So that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other comments from the committee on the presentation?
Weddleton.
Mr. Weddleton, go ahead.
So to follow up on Chris's conversation, though, but I believe if we were to adopt this with the recommended amendments in the comment response summary, then we are essentially where the Assembly was, except for that one diagram at the beginning. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep. All right. Comments from the committee on this issue? Okay. Hearing none, we're going to go to public comments now, and we'll have 30 seconds. Aaron, if you see any public comments, let me know after 30 seconds, beginning now. All right, I show a 30-second clock being up. Aaron, are there any comments from the public?
There are no comments that came through on Teams Live. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So at this point, what is the will of the committee regarding the Spenard Corridor Plan public review draft?
Move to accept it with the recommended amendments in the comment response summary.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second, Zalato.
We have a first moved and seconded. Are there any objections to approving the motion?
I'd like to speak on it a bit.
I'm sorry, Mr. Boylton, what did you say?
I wanted to on it a little bit before vote. Which should I go ahead or?
I guess go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I guess, or do we do it backwards on the AMATS, don't we? Usually we make the motion and then speak out. Okay, I just want to have the opportunity to say that, I really do like this plan. It has a huge amount of information on Spenard. The way it's presented has a great vision for the future of 20, 60, 80 years, who knows? But, and I think it acknowledges that some of this won't happen, but here's a way to move forward. So I really like that. I think the policies are, organized in a way that's very clear and understandable. And it's, it's intuitively easy to read going through the maps and so on. So it's a job well done. I appreciate the efforts. And I know it was a longer haul than was expected. Thanks.
And Joni, I would echo that. Mr. Tobish, Scott Thomas sends his accolades to both of you and your team for this plan. And listening to his comments, he's very, he says, I support the diagram. I have no more comments. I support adopting this plan. So that's the gold standard in DOT land, if you can get Scott Thomas to say that. So, so one last chance. Are there any objections to approving this plan as with the adjudicated comments and diagrams? Okay, hearing none, the plan is approved. Okay, Craig, are there any other action items that we're looking for today?
Sorry, no, sir. I was on mute. No, sir.
Okay, no other action items. Okay, so there are no plan or project or plan updates on the agenda, so we'll move to item 7. Okay, are there any general information items from anyone on the committee that want to be added today? Okay, hearing none. Moving down to item 8, committee comments. Any committee comments to be added? All right, quiet crowd. Okay, item 9. Any public comments? Again, Aaron, I'm going to go ahead and wait for 30 seconds for any final public comments.
Mr. Chair, while we're waiting for the public comments, I just want to remind members that our November and December meetings due to the holidays are pushed a week early. So our technical committee, instead of the second Thursday on the 12th, it'll be on the 5th of November. And our December meeting, I'm sorry, that's the TAC on the 5th of November and the policy committee on the 19th. So just remember that we move a week early because of the holidays.
All right, thank you for the reminder. Okay, the 30 seconds are up. Aaron, were there any public comments in general?
Yes, there was. I have to send them over to myself. Just a second, sorry. There's a comment from the Spenard Community Council, and I have 4 devices going to run the meeting, so I'm trying to transition things from one to another. So just a second while I get it ready to post in the chat.
Okay.
I apologize for the delay. I was not ready. Oh, that's impossible to see, but it was from the Spenard Corridor, the Spenard Community Council, from the president, I believe. It says, thanks, I want to thank the policy committee for approving the Spenard Corridor plan on behalf of the Spenard Community Council.
All right. Yeah, it's red and green or something. I'm red-green colorblind. I can't read it. So.
Yeah, I'll try and correct that later. Sorry.
No worries. Thank you for reading it. Okay. I think we're all wrapped up today. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Shooty, moved.
Mr. Shooty, thank you. Have a second?
Kyle, second.
Cindy, seconded. Thank you. Any objections to approving the adjournment?
Great afternoon, everyone.
You too. Thank you, everybody. Have a safe weekend.
Thanks.
Thank you.